Samantha had always been a dedicated employee in one of the largest marketing firms in New York. She had joined the company straight out of college, full of dreams and ambition. For 10 years, she had worked tirelessly climbing the corporate ladder, handling campaigns, managing teams, and always going the extra mile. Her colleagues admired her boss praised her, and she had carved a reputation as someone reliable and talented. Every Monday, she would wake up excited to face new challenges, energized by her work and the impact she could make on clients and the company. She enjoyed the routine, the stability, and the sense of purpose her job gave her. But one Monday morning, everything changed. Samantha received an email marked urgent. She clicked on it, her heart pounding and her stomach twisting. The message was brief. Your position has been terminated effective immediately. Please contact HR for further information. Samantha could not believe her eyes. The words seemed to blur and float in front of her. She reread the email over and over as if that could somehow change reality. Her hands trembled and her mind raced. This could not be happening. She had been loyal, hardworking, and consistent. How could they just let her go? She felt a surge of anger, confusion, and disbelief mixed with fear. The next few hours were a whirlwind. HR called her in for a meeting, explaining the reasons, which sounded vague and impersonal. She tried to ask questions, but the responses felt rehearsed. She signed the paperwork, feeling numb, and walked out of the office one last time. The city outside seemed too bright, too loud, and too real. She had a small apartment, a car, and bills to pay, and suddenly everything felt precarious. Samantha felt as if the ground beneath her feet had disappeared. She thought about the mortgage, student loans, credit card bills, and everyday expenses. Her sense of security had been shattered in an instant. She felt lost and scared. Samantha spent the evening at home, staring at her laptop, unsure of what to do. She reached out to close friends who offered sympathy, but not solutions. The words layoff, unemployment, and uncertainty echoed in her mind. She began to question her skills, her choices, and her worth. The future seemed like a dark tunnel with no light at the end. Her confidence, which had been her strongest asset, was now fragile. She cried silently on her bed, feeling the weight of disappointment and fear crushing her. As the days passed, Samantha realized she could not stay in despair. She needed a plan. She began updating her resume, applying for jobs, and attending interviews, but rejection after rejection added to her stress. Companies either ignored her applications or she did not fit the new roles she was offered. The frustration was immense. She had spent a decade building a career, and now she was starting from scratch. But deep inside, she felt a flicker of determination. She refused to give up, even when fear tried to take over. She knew she needed to survive and find a way forward. One evening, Samantha sat at the kitchen table with a cup of tea, staring out the window, watching the city lights. She thought about her passions, her skills, and what she truly wanted from life. The layoff had shaken her, but it had also opened a space for reflection. She realized she had always dreamed of creating something of her own, something meaningful that reflected her creativity and her vision. A small idea began to form in her mind. It was scary and uncertain, but also exciting. She felt the first spark of hope. Samantha knew it would not be easy. She had no business experience, no investors, and no roadmap. But she also knew she could not let fear dictate her future. She decided that she would take one small step at a time, exploring possibilities, researching markets, and learning everything she could about entrepreneurship. She made a promise to herself that she would turn the setback into an opportunity, and that no matter how hard it got, she would persevere. The journey was just beginning, and Samantha felt a mix of excitement, fear, and determination as she prepared to take her first steps toward building her own future. The weeks after her layoff were filled with uncertainty. Samantha spent countless hours thinking about her future. She had applied to dozens of jobs, attended interviews, but nothing seemed right. Every rejection felt like a weight pressing down on her chest. Yet, deep inside, a quiet voice kept whispering that this was the opportunity she needed. She realized that perhaps losing her job was not the end, but the beginning of something greater. Samantha started reflecting on her passions, on the skills she had honed over a decade, on the experiences she had gained. She thought about the projects she loved, the campaigns she had led, and the small creative solutions she had designed for clients. One evening, as she sipped her coffee, scrolling through social media, Samantha noticed a trend in online businesses. She saw people creating custom products, selling them online, and building small communities around their brands. She realized that there was a market for something unique, something personal, something that reflected her taste, creativity, and understanding of people. She began jotting down ideas, her mind racing with possibilities. Each note was rough, incomplete, but it was a start. She wanted to create something that could help people express themselves while also being profitable. Samantha's first idea was a line of personalized planners and stationery. She remembered how she used to love designing layouts for her projects at work and thought, why not create something similar for people who wanted to organize their lives beautifully? She researched online, learning about suppliers, manufacturers, shipping, and marketing. She spent hours watching videos, reading blogs, and talking to people who had started small online businesses. The more she learned, the more her confidence grew. She realized that while the road ahead would be challenging, it was not impossible. Friends and family were supportive in words, but skeptical in reality. They asked questions Samantha did not yet have answers to. They said starting a business was risky. They reminded her of the money she would need, the competition she would face, and the time it would consume. Samantha listened politely, but inside, she knew she could not let doubts stop her. She decided to take small steps. She would start at home, testing her designs, sharing them with a few people, gathering feedback, learning from mistakes, and iterating. Her first prototype was a simple planner with hand-drawn designs. She sent samples to friends asking for honest opinions. Some loved it, some suggested changes, but every piece of feedback helped her improve. Samantha spent late nights and early mornings working on her idea. She created a small website listing her products, wrote descriptions, took photos, learned basic digital marketing and social media promotion. Her apartment became her workshop. She measured paper, cut pages, assembled planners, and packaged them with care. Each planner reflected her dedication and attention to detail. She felt alive, creating something she owned, something that came from her mind and her hands. This was different from working for a corporate client. This was her dream taking shape. The first few sales trickled in slowly. Samantha celebrated each one as if it were a major victory. Each email from a customer thanking her for the beautiful planner made her heart swell. She realized that she was not just selling a product, she was creating joy, adding value, and connecting with people in a way she had never experienced at her corporate job. The positive responses fueled her motivation. She stayed up late refining designs, researching trends, and planning the next steps. She even began to consider expanding her product line based on customer feedback. Despite her growing excitement, Samantha faced challenges that tested her resolve. Shipping delays, supplier issues, technical problems with her website, and balancing daily life made her question if she could handle it. She sometimes felt exhausted and overwhelmed, but she reminded herself why she had started. She thought about her layoff, how powerless she had felt, and how taking control of her future now gave her a sense of purpose. She learned to embrace small failures as lessons, stepping stones leading her closer to success. She began to develop resilience, patience, and problem-solving skills she had never used in the corporate world. As the months passed, Samantha noticed a shift in her mindset. She was no longer defined by the job she had lost. Instead, she was defined by the vision she was building. The idea that had started as a spark in her mind was slowly transforming into a tangible business. She knew the journey was long and that the challenges ahead were significant, but the fire inside her was burning brighter than ever. Samantha realized that losing her job was the push she needed to take control of her life. Her determination transformed fear into action and action into results. Samantha's small business was growing slowly, but the journey was far from easy. Each day brought new challenges that tested her patience, creativity, and resilience. She had taken her idea from a spark to a tangible product and even managed to sell a few planners online. But now she faced the bigger hurdles of scaling her business, finding the right suppliers, marketing effectively, and reaching more customers. Every step required learning new skills, solving problems, and making decisions that could either make or break her fledgling venture. Investors and banks were the first major obstacle Samantha encountered. She had a vision of expanding her line, creating custom products, and building a recognizable brand, but she lacked the capital. She scheduled meetings, pitched her ideas, and submitted applications for small business loans, only to face rejection after rejection. Some investors said the market was too saturated. Others doubted her lack of experience. While the disappointment stung, Samantha refused to give up. She learned to take feedback constructively, to refine her pitch, and to identify alternative ways to fund her business. She started saving every extra dollar, cutting unnecessary expenses, and reinvesting every cent she earned from her first sales back into the business. Marketing was another steep learning curve. Samantha had no formal experience in digital advertising and had to learn from scratch. She watched countless tutorials, experimented with social media ads, ran promotions, created content, and analyzed metrics. She spent late nights researching trends and brainstorming creative ways to reach potential customers. She learned to balance authenticity with strategy, creating posts that reflected her personality while also appealing to her audience. She discovered that building a community around her products was just as important as the products themselves. At home, Samantha's apartment was transformed into a bustling workshop. She measured, cut, assembled, and packaged planners herself. Each order was handled personally, ensuring quality control. She faced logistical challenges, shipping delays, miscommunication with suppliers, and occasional mistakes in orders. Some days it felt overwhelming. She questioned whether she could manage everything alone. But each challenge she overcame strengthened her problem-solving skills and deepened her understanding of business operations. She realized that every obstacle was a lesson in resilience and perseverance. Financial strain added another layer of pressure. Samantha worked long hours, often skipping meals and sacrificing personal time. She juggled multiple part-time jobs to cover bills, while also dedicating herself fully to her business. The fatigue was real, but her vision kept her going. She visualized the brand she wanted to build, the impact she wanted to create, and the life she hoped to lead. That vision gave her the energy to keep pushing even when results seemed slow or setbacks occurred. Despite the struggle, small victories began to emerge. Her online store received positive reviews, customers shared photos using her products, and word of mouth brought in new clients. Each success, no matter how small, became a source of motivation. Samantha celebrated these wins, acknowledging that growth often came in tiny, incremental steps rather than giant leaps. She documented her progress, learned from mistakes, and adjusted her strategies continuously. She began networking with other entrepreneurs, joining online communities, attending workshops, and gaining mentorship, which provided guidance and encouragement. Samantha's perseverance also transformed her mindset. She stopped viewing failure as a reflection of her worth. Instead, she embraced it as an inevitable part of the journey. She learned to adapt quickly to challenges, to innovate when problems arose, and to maintain focus on her long-term goals. She realized that entrepreneurship required patience, perseverance, and an unwavering belief in oneself. She developed confidence not from immediate results, but from her ability to endure struggle and continue moving forward. By the end of the struggle phase, Samantha had laid a solid foundation for her business. She had grown her customer base, improved her products, built an online presence, and gained the skills and knowledge necessary to scale further. She knew bigger challenges were coming and that growth would demand more effort and strategy, but she also knew that the hardest part was believing in herself and pushing through uncertainty. Samantha had proven to herself that she could turn setbacks into action, and that persistence, combined with creativity, could open doors she had never imagined. After months of relentless effort, Samantha began noticing a change in the momentum of her business. Her small online store that had once received just a handful of orders was now attracting attention from customers across the country. Each day brought new orders, inquiries, and messages from people excited about her products. Samantha realized that the perseverance, the late nights, and the countless obstacles she had faced were finally paying off. She could feel the energy shift. Her dream was starting to take shape in a tangible way. The first major breakthrough came when one of her planners went viral on social media. A popular lifestyle influencer had shared a photo praising the design and quality of her product. Overnight, Samantha's website traffic skyrocketed. Orders flooded in from all over the United States. She stayed up through the night packaging and shipping products personally, feeling a mixture of exhaustion and exhilaration. She could hardly believe the response. Her brand, that had once been a small home project, had suddenly captured national attention. With the increase in demand, Samantha knew she had to scale quickly. She hired a small team to help with packaging, customer service, and social media management. She partnered with reliable suppliers to ensure consistent product quality and timely deliveries. She implemented systems for inventory tracking and order management, creating a professional infrastructure for her growing business. Every decision she made was strategic and aimed at sustaining growth while maintaining the personal touch that had made her brand popular. Marketing efforts also began to pay off in new ways. Samantha had experimented with digital ads, email campaigns, and social media content before, but now her efforts were yielding measurable results. She began collaborating with more influencers and bloggers and noticed a pattern in the types of content that resonated with her audience. She used data to make informed decisions, refining her product offerings and communication style. She realized that business success was a combination of creativity, analytics, and responsiveness to customer needs. Investors in media began to take notice. Samantha received inquiries from venture capitalists interested in her funding her expansion. She was approached by journalists wanting to cover her inspiring journey from being laid off to running a successful business. Samantha carefully evaluated each opportunity, ensuring that it aligned with her vision and values. She had learned during the struggle phase to discern advice and opportunities that would truly benefit her business. She was confident enough now to make informed decisions that would scale her business without compromising her integrity. Samantha's personal growth during this period was equally remarkable. She had transformed from a hesitant employee, unsure of her capabilities, into a confident entrepreneur, capable of leading a team, making strategic business decisions, and inspiring others. She discovered her own resilience, her creativity, her ability to solve problems, and her capacity to lead. She understood that her journey was not just about the financial success, but also about the empowerment and confidence she had gained. The breakthrough also allowed Samantha to give back. She started mentoring other aspiring entrepreneurs, sharing her experiences and lessons learned. She participated in webinars and local business events, inspiring women who were facing challenges similar to the ones that she had overcome. She realized that her success had a ripple effect, empowering others to take risks and follow their dreams. Her story became a beacon of hope, showing that setbacks can become opportunities and that determination paired with action can lead to extraordinary outcomes. By the end of this phase, Samantha's business was firmly on the path to becoming a recognized brand. Her revenue was growing consistently, her customer base expanding, and her influence in the market increasing. She knew the journey was far from over, that scaling further would bring new challenges, but she was no longer afraid. She had tasted success, learned to navigate obstacles, and built the skills and mindset necessary to handle the next phase of her entrepreneurial journey. The breakthrough was not just in sales or recognition, but in the transformation she had undergone as a person and as a business leader. Samantha could hardly believe it when she checked her business account. The numbers she had worked so hard to reach had finally arrived. Her small, homegrown brand that had started with a simple idea and a few handmade planners had now reached $1 million in revenue. She leaned back in her chair and let the realization sink in. The journey from being laid off, uncertain, and afraid to this moment of triumph was nothing short of extraordinary. Every struggle, every sleepless night, every rejection, every mistake had led her here. Reflecting on her journey, Samantha realized that the layoff that had initially felt like a devastating setback had actually been the catalyst for her transformation. Losing her job had forced her to confront uncertainty, to explore her passions, and take ownership of her life. She had discovered skills she never knew she had, the ability to innovate, solve problems, and lead a team. Her confidence had grown, her resilience strengthened, and her vision clarified. She was no longer just an employee defined by a corporate title. She was an entrepreneur, creating value, impacting lives, and inspiring others. The milestone of $1 million was not just about the money. It symbolized growth, persistence, and courage. It was proof that setbacks could be turned into opportunities, that hard work could pay off, and that believing in oneself was the most powerful tool in achieving success. Samantha thought about the people who had supported her, friends, family, and mentors who offered guidance, encouragement, and feedback. She also thought about the customers who had trusted her brand and shared her journey with others. Each connection reinforced the importance of relationships and community in building a successful business. With success came the desire to give back. Samantha began mentoring aspiring entrepreneurs, sharing her experiences on social media and speaking at local business events. She wanted others to know that fear and uncertainty were not barriers, but stepping stones to growth. She emphasized the importance of persistence, creativity, and learning from failure. She encouraged women to pursue their passions even in the face of doubt and risk. Samantha knew firsthand that the path to success was not linear, but every challenge offered a lesson, and every effort contributed to progress. Her business continued to grow beyond her initial expectations. She expanded her product line, hired a larger team, and explored new markets. She remained hands-on in maintaining quality and building authentic connections with her customers. But she also delegated responsibilities strategically, ensuring sustainable growth. The systems and infrastructure she had built during the struggle phase allowed her to scale efficiently while keeping her core values intact. Samantha was confident that this was just the beginning of a much larger journey. Most importantly, Samantha had grown personally. She had learned to trust herself, take calculated risks, and embrace challenges. She had discovered that true success was not defined by money alone, but by the courage to pursue one's dreams, the resilience to overcome obstacles, and the ability to inspire and uplift others. She looked back at her layoff not as a moment of loss, but as a turning point that had propelled her toward her destiny. As she prepared for the next chapter of her life, Samantha felt gratitude for the journey, the struggles, the victories, and the lessons. She knew that every entrepreneur faced setbacks and doubts, but the key was to persevere, to remain passionate, and to take action consistently. Her story had come full circle from fear and uncertainty to confidence and achievement. It was a testament to the power of determination, vision, and courage. Samantha smiled, looking at the stack of planners ready to ship to customers across the country. She had turned a single idea into a thriving business, created impact, and inspired others to follow their dreams. The layoff that had once seemed like the end had become the beginning of a life she had always imagined. The $1 million milestone was not just a number. It was a celebration of her journey, a reflection of her resilience, and a beacon of hope for anyone willing to believe in themselves and take that first courageous step.